Hey, hi, hello. Hey everybody and welcome back. Thank you so much for watching today's video. We are gonna do a chit chat, get ready with me, kind of a continuation on the last video. Since lately it's been so sad. Once I heard about this in the news that Pure One Imports is going out of business, there's been so many places that have sadly been going out of business right now. I wanted to make a video about all the good things that I missed that went out of business, all those stores that I grew up going to, and leave it on a good note, on a good thought memory, on stores that I have so much, you know, like memories and like past experiences and good thoughts and times with my family and friends at. So that's what we're gonna do today, is revisit old places that used to exist that do not exist anymore. So I really want to do a look today combination of like teals and burgundies. So does anyone remember Tower Records? It's so sad that a lot of bookstores and a lot of music stores do not exist anymore. Tower Records was the place that we all went to, waited in line to get our tickets to go see bands live. Tower Records had such a fond memory. During the summer, we would just have our parents drive us to Tower Records just to literally hang out with our friends, listen to albums that just came out or reminisce on older albums. Even the people that worked there were super cool. It just brought like locals kind of together. I miss Tower Records so much. They had the greatest sales sections on music and movies and memorabilia. It was so much of my like high school growing up, and it does not exist anymore. It is so incredibly sad. Another store that has so much memories behind it was Fedco. Fedco was kind of like Costco, but like the lower budget one. They had like a lot of stuff that Costco would have. I want to say they had some of it in bulk, but I don't think all of it was in bulk. I remember being a really young kid and going to Fedco with my grandmother and my mother. I think they were bulk because the shelves were so big, although I was really young. I would hide in empty shelves. And it was like a lot of browns and whites and tans in the, I'm sure, the 90s. Gosh, it reminds me of Pavilions. Does that store even exist anymore? We would go to Pavilions to get cookies at the bakery because kids of a certain age of like 12 and younger would get free cookies at the bakery. And they all knew my grandma at the bakery and would give us cookies. My favorite were thumbprint cookies. And I remember getting Panda Express lunch at Pavilions. After we go to Fedco, then we go to Pavilions, get Panda Express lunch, and then get a free cookie for dessert after. It was like such fond memories growing up. I'm pretty sure Fedco was a place you had to have a membership too. Speaking of memberships, does anyone remember Blockbuster? Oh my gosh. Blockbuster was such a big ordeal. It was so sad when it went. Blockbuster kind of went out of business once Netflix came around and got really popular when I was in high school. Back when Netflix, most of the movies, you had to get them through the mail through Netflix, which is crazy to think about now. Blockbuster was still existing. You could rent DVDs, VHSs, video games. We even had local video shops that weren't the chain of Blockbuster. That was so much fun, and the local chains would know me so well because, like I said before in past videos, I used to play games that only had like an hour a day. My parents would allow me to play certain video games because me and my brother were addicted. Some nights during the summer we would get a pizza and play till like 5 in the morning because we had more time to play then. It was just so much fun. It was like the only time that me and my brother really got along was playing video games, and I would always rent Kirby Crystal Castle. I think I had Donkey Kong, but I always rented it because you'd only get to rent it for like 2 weeks, and I only had like I said, like an hour a day to play. Gosh, Final Fantasy 10, so many things on N64. Hydro Thunder, before I owned it, I would rent that all the time too because my dad loved it too. So many memories at video game rental. Like going there with your friends to rent a movie for the weekend to hang out was just, I miss it. I was going through photos yesterday, and that's what really reminded me to make this video too, because all the photos with my old friends and everything, and even back from the first grade till now I was looking at photos of. Speaking of young childhood, does anyone remember Discovery Zone if you lived in the California area? Maybe a lot of these you won't know about because Corey didn't know, my boyfriend didn't know a lot about these places I was reminiscing about because I'm from California in a bigger city and he's from more smaller towns where he grew up, and they didn't have stuff like Discovery Zone. Discovery Zone was like Chuck E. Cheese on crack. It was so good. It was like a jungle gym for kids, and it was like a play gym of like so many great things. Like, you know the play gyms at Chuck E. Cheese? Well, that was like the generic version of Discovery Zone. Discovery Zone's play gyms were so crazy, like adults even wanted to go in it. Everyone would have their birthdays at Discovery Zone if you were super cool. It was everything. I miss it so much. The reason why I miss it is because not only were like the jungle gym areas really cool and fun, you got a lot of exercise in, which I feel like they should bring them back. But then again, germs. But the reason why it was cool, they had laser tag, and not just any regular schmegular laser tag. They had Men in Black laser tag, and so you could shoot at aliens on this laser tag. It was so much fun, and these aliens glowed in the dark. It was like my absolute favorite. That was like the highlight of my childhood. I remember my cousin would have her Girl Scout birthday parties there, and she would sneak me in with the older girls, because she's my older cousin, just so I could go with her to Discovery Zone. Discovery Zone was so great. I miss it so much. Oh my gosh, I used to work in the mall, okay? And what I remember when I worked in the mall, this is how old I am, because this place definitely does not exist anymore, but Anchor Blue. Anchor Blue was like a teenage version of Old Navy. I think it was a brother-sister company to someone. It was like the cheaper version of Tilly's, if that still exists. Tilly's is like a surfer shop of clothes where all the popular kids shopped at, because they had Roxy and Quicksilver shirts that were like $50. It was ridiculous. But Anchor Blue, they had really affordable jeans, I remember, and they were just like the cheaper version of like, it was better than Aeropostale, but it wasn't quite American Eagle. You know what I mean? I remember I used to always buy my purses there with my best friend. Such nostalgia, because a lot of you guys won't even know what Anchor Blue is. I'll try to find pictures of these stores because it's like looking back at the first Jurassic Park. It's just such old school craziness. Does anyone remember Toys R Us? Well, that was recent when that went out of business, and they had huge sales. Me and Bunny would go and look at the sales because it was such a big part of our childhood, Toys R Us growing up, and I'm sure of a lot of people's. It's so sad that that went out of business. I remember those Toys R Us kid with the giraffe commercials. I would still shop at Toys R Us when I was an adult to get board games for parties. I absolutely loved that store, and it's so sad that it went away. Another store that was similar to it but not as cool, and it was in malls mostly, was KB Toys. And it's so sad that that went away. I remember they had a lot of like toys more towards Christmas time that were like wind up, like electric pigs and animals, and I can't believe that went out of business too. It's like, what the heck? I guess Amazon just like overtook all these toy stores. The fact that Toys R Us went away is just, I knew that a lot of things can't last. Does anyone remember Walden's Books and Border Books? It is so incredibly sad that these bookstores went away because I grew up on books. My mother was a librarian. I volunteered in the library that she worked at. I guess she was technically a page, meaning she did all the book returns. I knew germs existed when I was a kid because of my mother's job. If you saw the disgusting things that went on in libraries, oh my gosh, because those computers are free to use by the public. So there was a lot of creeps in the libraries, which I don't think anyone thinks about. When I worked in the library with my mother, we would find like underwear and books. And when we would restock the children's books, our fingertips would be pitch black. But that's why we like bookstores, me and my mom, because it was like when we would go to work, but nicer, and we could enjoy it, and it wasn't as dirty because they're brand new books. And the whole public could go to bookstores, but it wasn't like free like libraries. So people were a lot more nicer to the bookstores than the libraries. I really hope Barnes & Nobles doesn't go out of business. I applied to work there 5 times, I think, at 3 different locations one year because I wanted to work there so bad because I loved bookstores so much. I'm gonna dip into 2 ColourPop palettes, the Just My Luck one and the ColourPop X's and O's. Just like Tower Records, does anyone remember Sam Goody's? That was an electronic store or CDs. I think they had both. Wasn't a really big Sam Goody's person, but they did have this one store that I would always go to, and it was Warner Brothers had their own entertainment store. That was the business. That was like for rich kids growing up. A lot of people that were into Friends went there, and I wasn't allowed to watch Friends when I was younger, so I'm like, oh, that's for like the cool older kids who go watch Dawson's Creek and Friends, because my Asian mother did not allow that in my household. And I thought, oh, that's for the cool kids. But Warner Brothers was so cool. I would still go in there and sneak in there with my friends at the mall. They mostly had them at malls. I think they only have Warner Brothers Studio stores now at the actual Warner Brothers Studios when I would go there, which is so cool because I would be invited to the Warner Brothers Studios when I lived in California, working on jobs with Warner Brothers, and it was such a whole nostalgia 360 thing because I wasn't allowed to go to the entertainment stores when I was younger, but now that I worked with Warner Brothers, I could go to their Halloween events and stuff, which is so much fun. Limited Too, oh my gosh, another place I wasn't allowed to go to because they were so expensive. My mom was like, let's just go to Kohl's and JCPenney to buy your clothes. Why do you want to go Limited Too? Plus, I was too chunky monkey to shop at Limited Too, to be honest. I think she was just trying to spare my feelings because I would probably just end up going there and not be able to fit into anything. That's what I'm going to tell myself. Because Limited Too, again, I thought it was for rich kids. I wasn't poor or anything, I was middle class. But my parents wanted me to make sure I knew what $1 was. I have been working since I was 12 years old. I would pull weeds for people, I would water their lawns, I would watch their kids, I would pet sit. Everyone thought I was the nice, responsible kid, which I was, because I never drank, got in trouble, or did anything, and I had no friends to invite over for parties. So I was like the perfect one for you to hire. I really wish I got the ColourPop Mint palette because I could really use it right now. I should have bought it. This next store was my absolute favorite thing that ever existed. Probably this and Discovery Zone was the top 2. It's hard to pick which one of those was absolutely the best for me. But the Nature Company, oh my gosh. Do you know what the Rainforest Cafe is near downtown Disney? Well, it's like a rainforest cafe. It's in the name. What am I saying? But the Nature Company, think of that, but at a shop, like a store you could buy these things at. So freaking magical. This was back when you could buy moccasins without like super being offensive. I guess people just didn't care. But everyone bought moccasins back then. You could get all of the amazing gifts at the Nature Company. They had like all the stuffed animals that were actually animals. They had all the fake fossils and just crazy weird things. Like all the quirky weird toys that taught you something that looked like it came from a nature museum. That was my jam. All the crystals you could think of. All the fake crystal jewelry, I'm sure. I used to love playing with the rain sticks and looking at all the stuffed animals. Like any type of shop that had those when I was a kid was like totally my business because I would go camping all the time. And that's what it reminded me of, was camping for some reason. In my opinion, one of the worst stores to ever exist was RadioShack. That store was so useless and it went out of business. RadioShack was like where all the broken Best Buy products went to die. I'm being so over dramatic, and this store went out of business for a reason. Every time I would get products from RadioShack, it would break, I swear. It's like a store that my dad really loved and trusted in, but I didn't trust it. I'm like, Dad, why do you shop here and drag me here? It's like every single time my dad would drive me to a store to do errands, I would end up at Home Depot in the cow manure section or RadioShack, and I hated my life. Or Kmart. Do you remember Kmart? Does Kmart still exist? Didn't Selena Gomez or someone have lines of clothing at Kmart? Did Nicki Minaj have a line of clothing at Kmart? Does that still exist? Mervyn's doesn't exist anymore. I had so many friends. Every friend in high school either worked at Mervyn's or Kohl's. I had so many friends work at Mervyn's, and I would pick them up. We would pick them up from Mervyn's to hang out after their shift was over. Gosh, Mervyn's. Mervyn's was like fancier than TJ Maxx and Marshall's. It was just like one of those stores that I remember my friends almost crying from working there, how much they hated it. And I wouldn't shop there just because they told me how much they hated it. Oh my gosh, speaking of the mall, since I worked there, I worked at this store that still exists, so I'm not gonna really talk about it, but it was basically a clothing store for pregnant women. And I would always try to go to this place to eat lunch because it was the best, and it doesn't exist anymore, and it's so sad. Sbarro pizza, oh my gosh, Sbarro pizza was everything. They had these thick slices of Americanized pizza that is nowhere near Italian food. I'm gonna be straight up honest about that. But Sbarro pizza had like salads and breadsticks. It was like Olive Garden, but better with mostly pizza. And they had these thick crust pizzas. My family didn't even like thick crust pizza, but we went to this one and loved this one because Sbarro had these spinach pizzas that were so good that had mushrooms on them, and I miss it so much. It's so sad that went out of business. I don't understand why people weren't keeping going there, because I'm surprised they went out of business because that pizza was so bomb. Most of their pizzas were bomb. So I don't know how they went out of business or why. Does anyone remember Imaginarium? It was like the store for smart kid toys that I still liked going to, of course. You know me, I'm a grandma. I like toys that could teach me things. I like video games that could teach me things. Like Imaginarium is the store, toy store where parents would leave their kids at. And the kids would either leave there to go to KB Toys, but I wouldn't because I'm a nerd. It's so hard to talk and do eyeliner. I just realized what my makeup reminds me of. Mint chocolate chip ice cream. And now I can't unsee it. Linens and Things, y'all remember that? Linens and Things was like, how do I explain it? Bath and Body Works, does that still exist now? I thought they were literally the same company for the longest. Apparently they're not. Same with Circuit City. Do you guys remember that? And Sports Chalet. Circuit City was like this electronic store that was trying to be Best Buy, but she couldn't be her. Best Buy is, I feel like it's gonna be around forever. I think it's because it's such a memorable like name, and they always have good products. This is my favorite, one of my favorite lipsticks. This is Clinique's Mink. Oh my gosh. It's like this 90s brown color, but it's not offensive. It doesn't look like you like literally ate poo. It's so pretty. Oh my gosh, Wet Seal. Does anyone remember Wet Seal? Wet Seal? I used to call it Wet Seal. Ooh, Wetzel's Pretzels, now I want some. That better not, that definitely probably is not gone because that's so delicious. How do I explain Wet Seal? It was like trying to be Forever 21, but for people that were in clubs who had no money to spend on clothes. Everything was like similar colors and fabrics. Reminds me of Charlotte Russe. Does that store still exist? Oh my gosh, Charlotte Russe. They're like teenage clothing stores of very low quality. I still shopped there when I couldn't afford like really well-made clothes. I feel like Forever 21 dominated, and even though that's going bankrupt, I heard some of the stores now, which is crazy because I feel like everyone shops there. I feel like once you shop at Forever 21, even when you're 31, you're still gonna be like looking through there for a cheap dress last minute. The one thing that really got me sad was the store called Tavana's. I think it was one of Oprah's favorite things. It was this tea shop that had floor to ceiling tea, iced and hot tea. If you love tea, oh my gosh, it was amazing. You could smell the tea, not just when you walked in the store, but they would let you smell tea. Like, I'm into candles, tea, smells. It was my jam. And it was so sad that they got rid of it. I just learned this when I was looking up some of the old pictures on stores that went out of business, which made me sad. They used to have this raspberry tea. I don't even remember the name of it. It was so good. They would make you iced teas to go or hot teas to go, or you could buy like almost a gallon-sized thing of your favorite loose leaf tea. It was amazing. I need to put some lashes on. This ain't over. I'm gonna wear what I call my Insta Baddie lashes. This is in the style Scarlet from Dollar Lash Club. We're about to go above and beyond with these lashes. That's all the like random stores I could think about that don't exist anymore that bring so many memories. I remember going to Borders bookstore during the summers with my mom, and they would have story time for kids, not just at libraries, but at the bookstores back then too. It was like everything. These lashes are like the topping to my mint chocolate chip tower ice cream. The sprinkles to give it some pizzazz. So I hope you enjoyed this chit chat. Get ready with me about all the stores that I missed that are gone. So sad. Everything changes, and sometimes it's for the good and not so good. I miss some of the places. Leave a comment down below if there's any like local shop or some type of store or memory that you guys missed when you were younger that doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. I'd love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos like this. I do beauty and effects videos, 2 videos a week every Monday and Friday here on this channel. I love you creators, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!